Good morning and welcome to another ironic introduction to another video. Today I will be talking about a patch update, a character balance, and summon balance change in Granblue Fantasy. As always, if you would just rather read these, I will post the link to this page in the description. But if you are like me and you like to download the someone else talking about it and giving you the rundown, you can listen to me instead. I'm not going to list off the champions because you'll get them one at a time. But if you do want to just take a moment, I will slowly scroll through here, and if you want to see if there's someone you care about on here, like your waifu or something, I totally understand. And I should comment that it is 18 characters getting reworked / rebalanced, and technically 5 summons. But this is really just 3 summons, as they are including the SR versions of Death and the Star. The balance patch is scheduled for June 4th, which should actually be tomorrow. So, US, it's June 4th, JP, I believe. So first up, we have Cagliostro Halloween. She really needed this, and so we will have her first skill will be reworked, and it will be boost to charge attack specs based on number of Oblivion Crest. The Oblivion Crest is something that you get from the Dark Opus weapon, so you will want to have one of those if you want to take full advantage of her here. And from the 8th turn onwards, all allies will gain charge boost. So it really depends on what the number is here, but I imagine it'll probably be like 10% because that's fairly standard. Anything more than that, and this might be just a little bit crazy. Her second skill, Collapse, will have its damage increased. I would like to see that number somewhere in the 400,000 plus range. And after the 8th turn, it will activate twice. I still think it would be nice if this did a minimum of 700,000, because once it's proccing twice, that's still 1.25 million. Increased by 400,000, and that would go up to 900,000, and that would be like 1.8 million. That's pretty similar to Lucio's, although I believe his got upped as well. I think that it wouldn't even hurt to make this, like a solid million, so it procs for 2 million. I just don't think that. I think that a Halloween character, a limited character, can have that strong of a nuke, and it's justifiable worth running at that point. Worth pressing, so you're not losing too much time. Phantasmagoria is being reworked. The name is being changed to Paranormal Phantasm, and all allies will gain reversed Ouroboros, which will be attack boosted, defense boosted, DA and TA boosted. The numbers on that multi-attack scaling really matters here, as if it's something really minor like 10 and 5, people might not comment, but if it's something solid like 30-20, or even 30-30, that would be very good. And you will gain 1 Oblivion Crest in this manner, so you are not fully reliant on the Dark Opus weapons, but you still are going to want to have that to really build that stack that much quicker. Lower my camera here real quick. And now it is Undispellable, which is great because that has more relevance in higher level content. When enhanced, it will have a 7-turn cooldown, and from the 8th turn onwards, this is solid. All allies will gain Light Switch, elemental damage from foes turned into light damage. And I don't know how long this will last, but this is great. This is really going to help you eat, AoE triggers that would otherwise kill you. Next up is her ability Reinforced, which is being reworked and will be now named Wonder Treat. I like that they're adding some flair there. This will restore all allies HP, remove 1 debuff from all allies, and from the 8th turn onwards, it will activate twice. This is really nice because it's a nice clarity with the prevalence of Stamina Dark coming into the game. It will be nice to kind of have this healer Cagliostro, as that is what she's mainly advertised as. That's her real core strength. So it would be nice to see what these numbers are, because if this is 2,000 to 3,000 and the heal is really solid, I think that'll be really good. Her passive Time for a Trick got reworked. Skills and charge attacks gain additional effects when used from 8th turn onwards. I do believe that is already included, so that's what we are reading here, which is a solid passive to have. And her new support skill will be light damage reductions to dark allies based on their number of Oblivion Crests. And it takes effect when she is in the backline, so she does have strength as a backline character, which is where she'll probably be ran, as Dark already has plenty of mainline characters to run. Sorry, dry mouth. Next up will be Halloween Charlotta. And so Judgment Rush will be, when used against a foe with Pumpkin, boost to charge attack specs and restore caster's HP. Then Plasmic Thrust will have an additional effect. Its damage will be increased. The cap was previously 620,000. Again, it would be nice to see this over 1 million so that it's actually worth pressing, just because the downtime you lose from pressing skills is not really worth. Unfortunately, the attack down will be increased to 20% down, which is solid but not great. Blinded almost never lands regardless, so having these two is not really something you're really looking for when you're pressing that. I would have liked to see defense down added to this to make it more valuable. Trick and Treat will be reworked and will add inflict. It will now inflict pumpkin, so you will press 3 and then 1, and additionally it will gain you will gain 100% DA, and we don't know about TA yet, but hopefully it gives that as well, because DA alone just isn't really great. It's good, just not great. And then her passive Festival Attire will be boosted damage dealt against bonus light damage against foes with pumpkin, and I believe that is damage over, so that is essentially a 5% damage cap up against foes with pumpkin, I believe. If I am wrong, I apologize. And her support skill will be, you will start the combat with 1 additional blue potion, and this takes effect even when she is in the back line. I think that when people can afford it, this will be a really solid back line for harder content, as it will be nice to just have the additional potion. Blue potions are incredibly valuable, or at least I value them a lot in a fight, and I love the one I get from my crew, at least when you know you need it. Next up is Summer Diantha. I love that she's getting a rework. She was a hot pick for a very long time before water got incredibly stacked. So Idle on the Beach has been reworked. And so now you will gain 20% charge boost and gain Tipuli Glow. And this will no longer have levels. It will be full strength and undispellable at the start, which is just absolutely amazing. As well as all allies will gain bonus water damage. Sorry. And on stage, reworked, all other allies gain charge attack damage up, charge attack damage cap up, and 20% charge boost. So in this way, you are getting multiple boosts. You know, you can get a lot from this. Whew. And then Summer Flow of Fate will boost MA across the grid. And then her personal EMP will be Mode Bar Cut and Fire Damage Down. Will both be replaced by healing EMPs, which is good because these two as is are kind of useless EMPs. Next up is Yugen Grand. So Die Jaeger Kanon will be reworked, and it will give all of your allies Earth attack up and DA up. Again, it would just be nice if they put DAT on here. I don't think that's too much to ask for in general. Intercept 2 will now cost 30% charge bar. This is just a counter, but there's no reason to have it cost 50%. People will never press that at 50%. And honestly, even at 30%, people probably won't press this very often unless they want Yugen to eat a trigger or something of like multi-hit effects. Next up is Sudden Attack. This is like an uplifted effect. And so it is now unique and undispellable. The unique part is particularly nice, as you can run other uplifted effects and still have the benefit of both, so that'll be really cool to see how that stacks up. And as well as for 5 turns, you will have charge attack specs and crit hit rate up. And at level 75, this is a 9-turn cooldown, which will mean it will be up roughly half the time, a little more than. So that's actually a pretty solid uptime. It almost makes Yugen Grand worth running, except for the fact that Earth is also incredibly stacked. But we'll really see what the numbers are on across the board here, because that will really matter as to how runnable he is. Also, he will have Chain Burst damage cap boosted stackable when targeted by a foe's attack. So depending on how powerful that is, we might see some solid like meme teams. But again, Earth already has Octo, Alexiel, Kane, and just other means of meming Ogies. Next up is Forte. Forte will have her Battle Cry reworked. Her Dark Attack up is now indefinite, so you don't have to worry about that running out, as well as more Oblivion Crests available to your team. They're really pushing the Oblivion Crest in particular so far. Conqueror Wing will be reworked, and its increased critical rate hit rate and decreased critical hit damage. The cooldown changed to 6 turns, and from the 7th turn onward, it will affect all allies. So honestly, you'll press this like at the very beginning, and then you'll wait until the 7th turn, which is convenient because the 6th turn cooldown means that pretty much when it comes up is when the second effect comes into play. And additionally, new support skill will be boost to skill specs for dark allies based on number of Oblivion crests, and will take effect even when Forte is in the backline. I don't think this is anything amazing, but now if you don't have like a dark roster and you have a Forte, or you just really like Forte and you want to run, this will be a at least reasonable use of the character. But again, that depends on the numbers. Like if this dark attack up is like really strong, you know, this could all be changed. Or if this crit hit rate is really high, that could be changed as well, unless these are the numbers, in which case I would say this is not high enough to justify. After that is Halicenia, who was already run in Earth Axe teams, especially with the Akasha Axe. People run this, even though it's not quite optimal, it's still fun to use. And so we'll have now on the first ability, charge attack specs improve for each level of Downright Crazy. I believe this isn't being changed, but her second ability will be reworked, and you will gain other self for 2 hits. So this pretty much just makes her invincible, and when enhanced, it will be an 8-turn cooldown. So essentially, 25% of the time, Halicenia can just be completely unkillable. At least from, I believe, white damage still goes through here, but I can confirm later. And then the next ability, Your Toast, is being reworked, and it will inflict DATA down and deal earth damage to all foes, as well as you will gain 2 levels of Downright Crazy once you've leveled her to 100. Sorry. So essentially, you will be pressing 3 and then 1 once she's maxed. And her last ability, Say Goodbye, will give you TA up as well as a crit and crit hit rate up for 5 turns, which is a pretty good amount. I don't know what the cooldown is on this, but I imagine it's probably like 7 to 9 turns. And this is a free amount of damage, which is good. And TA up is really good for Halicenia as an Axe user, because the Akasha Axe team is all about getting that 3rd hit in, as the extra damage applies to the 3rd hit. Finally, her passive is being reworked. It will now do boost to attack, damage cap, and multi-attack rate based on Downright Crazy level. And you will gain 1 level of Downright Crazy each turn, and you will lose 2 levels upon taking damage. So you do kind of need to make sure that you are running some form of mitigation. Grimnir will help like as a summon. Other options are available to you in Earth. It definitely has no problem protecting its lineup. And then it looks like the values have all been increased across the board, which is great. So the numbers will be even more justifiable for running Earth Axe. And Wait was replaced by a new support skill, and will now be boost to damage dealt for the 3rd hit of a triple attack. Again, just kind of stacking with the Akasha Axe. I'm really hoping someone shows a video of this, as hopefully like this number is like really big and juicy, just because as a player it is really fun to see like massive hits. Even if it means like the rest of your hits are not as strong, it's still fun to see. Let me take a quick breather here. Sorry about that. Next up is Helis, and so Quick Raid will be reworked, and it will now be changed to Graven Image. So she will gain Defiance. Wow, awesome. Except this is going to be an Overdrive assassin, which is not great, but Helis has already kind of like had a name for herself as an Overdrive assassin. As well as you will gain. You will have Autumnal, which will be changed to 7 turns, which is just free damage and charge boost. I don't think, yeah. And then her support skill will be reworked to bonus fire damage against foes in Overdrive, and she'll have a new support skill where every 3 turns deal fire damage to 1 foe and gain charge attack damage up. Stackable, so they essentially move that from her first skill into just a passive. This is pretty terrible. Like, she moves from not being really good to still not being really good. I mean, she's okay, but they could have done a lot more for her. Like, there is no reason to make this an overdrive assassin. This could just be an anytime assassin. That's pretty much the standard for when an assassin break is worth. Even maybe like a break assassin has a little more value. Overdrive assassin is a very short window a lot of times. I mean, it is better than a break assassin, but at least break assassin would work with TN a little bit. I don't know. This is a disappointing. The rest of them seem like pretty solid buffs. This one seems kind of subpar in comparison. But hey, maybe these numbers are really big and like she turns into this crazy charge attack powerhouse, and I'm just wrong. That's what I hope it is, because she's a really cool character. Next up is Jeanne d'Arc. She finally gets her blessing of sword proficiency, which is just like, it's crazy that Light Jeanne was the only one that didn't have sword proficiency. So good for her. We all wanted that to happen, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. So on 5-star uncap, all allies will gain light attack up and 20% charge cut, dark damage cut whenever you use her 1. So that's really good. Her reversal and the success rate of the down attack down is increased, which is good. I don't believe they're doing anything to make this stackable with Miserable Mist, which is unfortunate as those two debuffs override. Encouragement will be just some damage up, as well as all allies gain 30% charge boost, which is great, especially in an element that for a lot of players only damage caps when they're charge attacking. The effectiveness of strength was increased, as well as cooldown lowered, and we're not sure if that is going to be has to be level 95 buff or not. As well as her passive will be boost to all allies attack based on how high Jeanne d'Arc's HP is. This is really great, just like a passive stamina. The numbers do matter here. I'm showing the previous skill. You can see it was pretty much useless. The numbers do matter here, but it would be really nice, like if this is a solid 10% or even 20%, it would really bring Jeanne d'Arc into a position where she would, even arguably be highly valuable, especially since light is an element that has no problem maintaining high health, especially if you're running like Zeus and like multiple Lucifers. So next up is Summer Korwa. So her first skill, Blanche Fill, will be reworked. It will now extend all active Coquetry buffs on allies by 3 turns, as well as restore 3 Fill and gain 1 level of Idea. Idea is something new, and it no longer consumes Fill, so that was kind of counterintuitive. And then her second ability now boosts Ligne Dette. Coquetry now boosts wind attack and MA instead of attack and double attack rate, which is just great because you always want it to be elemental specific, just because you do get a little more out of that, as well as the multi attack rate instead of the DA rate is just strictly better. There was no reason for it to be just DA. Soy Elegante will be reworked. Target wind ally gains double strike. Wow. And damage cap up. No longer applies Magnifique, and it will still consume 4 Fill. The cooldown was changed to 3 turns, and it will be only 2 when enhanced. Wow, this is really good. Like, this brings her into a lineup because double attack is just like absolutely amazing, especially if you have like 6 or Grimnir or like really heavy wind hitters. This is going to be really solid, so I can't wait to see her in action. I actually think I have her. So Croquis Dette will be reworked. It will restore HP to all allies, consume 2 Fill, and you can use this every turn. The number here really matters, as you know, if you're consuming 2 Fill to cast this, this better be a pretty big heal. But her passive Summer Debut has been reworked and will be boost to wind allies charge attack specs based on ideal level. That's really solid because wind is already an Ogi element, so this might actually bring her into a position where she is runnable. I would love to see Summer Korwa, just because she is just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful artwork done on her, and just, you know, a really fun fate for her character, I think. Lancelot will have Blade Impulse, will now have an additional effect. After completing the level 100 Fate episode, it will now inflict attack down, defense down, and attack up, all stackable. The attack up will be gained, not inflicted. I apologize. Wogenstrom will be reworked, and now it will deal water damage to all foes twice. You will gain dodge rate boosted and hostility up, as well as cooldown change to 7 turns, 6 when enhanced. And at level 90, you will get DA up, TA up, and bonus water damage. Hopefully these are some pretty big numbers, as Lancelot could really use some like solid buffs in order to compete in water. Southern Cross will be reworked. It will deal 4 hit water damage to 1 foe. Hopefully that's like 4 350,000 damage hits. You will gain Other Self for 1 turn, and the cooldown is changed to 5 turns. So essentially 1 turn of immunity every 5 turns. Again, I do believe that does not prevent from white damage, so be mindful of that. But that's still really solid, especially with the hostility up combined. You can really utilize him to tank a little bit more. Not quite perfect, but a little bit more. And his passive Herculean, I apologize for my terrible pronunciation, will be a boost to Lancelot's dodge rates, as well as Blade Impulse activates upon dodging. So that's really solid to have. So actually, I imagine this will only be like 700 or 800,000 damage if they raise the cap at all. I really hope they raise it, but if they do, that's probably where it'll be, because if it's activating multiple times like that, they don't want it to be too high. And the extended mastery support skill will have a slight chance to dodge all attacks from foes. That's not great. You probably still won't even grab this, but that's okay. Nezhua, I'm not even going to say his full name, I apologize. We'll have Strike Solace now affects foes with Sharp Eye instead of foes in Break. Oh, this is great. I'm already excited for this. And Storm and Science will now give guaranteed TA with a 6-turn cooldown. That's, you know, reasonable. 1 out of 6 is still like a 16% TA buff. You know, better than that because it's guaranteed. And it will now instantly perform a normal attack without using up a turn. So that's really good. This actually might be super relevant when it comes to 1-turn clears. And we'll just have to see how big of a deal that is. As well as his passive will be now lessens damage from foes with 1 Sharp Eye, and upon triple attack, win damage to a foe and inflict Sharp Eye. Okay, so this will be, you'll use Stormwind Solace, which will immediately give guaranteed TA, followed by a normal attack. So you'll instantly get Sharp Eye, and then you will press 1, and then you will get your essentially anytime assassin. So yeah, he's going to definitely pop up in 1-turn memes, I believe, unless he's just totally beaten out by the charge attack meta. But I think that this is a really solid kit for like 1-turn meming. We'll have to see what the numbers on this assassin and how much he puts out with his auto attacks, to be honest, you know, in a little bit. Next up is Folia. And so Elegant Ruby will now also grant a shield. Recognition no longer inflicts the 20% max HP lowered on a target ally, which is great because that was just kind of stupid. A new support skill will recover HP each turn, gain 10% charge bar boost if HP is full, and Elegant Ruby will extend active trance absolution effects by 2 turns. So you'll really proc this, you know, in accordance to other skills that you are using. And one of the fire damage down EMPs was replaced by a debuff success up rate EMP. This is great. You will definitely grab this, as that is definitely something you will want on Folia. Debuff success up is a solid EMP, while fire damage down is like pretty meh. Next up is Rock'em Grand. Demolishing Drive is being reworked, and now all allies will gain fire attack up and DA up. Again, just like, why can't you give us TA? Sorry, stupid request. But will now no longer consume Spitfire, which is great because that was a little counterintuitive. Spitfire has been reworked, and it will now have its damage and damage cap increased. So again, this is something I would really like to see, that damage cap increased all the way up to like 800,000, maybe a little less, like 650,000, as you will be using this for other reasons, as well as the charge bar cost will be kind of low. But you will gain this 1 Spitfire, which will have attack, charge attack, damage cap, chain burst damage, and chain burst damage cap are boosted while active. I would also like to have seen this be like undispellable, just because they've already added that to so many other skills. I think that would have been nice. And this cooldown has been changed to 6 turns, so maybe especially with like the existence of like double procking skills, We'll see Rock'em Grand like pop up in a gun meme team. I would love that. I have a gun meme fire team, so that would be nice. Sleight of Hand has been reworked and will now deal bonus fire damage against foes with Convulsion, as well as Punish Save has been reworked, and will do boost to attack, charge attack specs, and chain burst specs based on Spitfire level. Oh, here it is, and Spitfire is now permanent undispellable. Awesome, that's exactly what I asked for. So I promise I didn't read that in advance. I just am super excited to see that. So I'm going to actually level my Rock'em up and see if I get to keep my gun meme team or if I have to recommit to my fire sword team. Maybe I'll let you all know when I get there. Siegfried Summer, or Summer Siegfried. Schwarzfang will be reworked and will now give Black Dragon's Claw. Deliverance, damage and damage cap increased. Again, I'd like to see this push over 1 million if possible. And the effectiveness of wind defense down increased to 25%. Which is solid because now this is like actually a notable number. And when you use a Black Dragon's Claw, it will activate twice, and the debuff success rate is increased. It would be really cool if this would be a stackable defense down. I don't think it is, and really it'll just be 2 chances to proc the 1 defense down, but it would have been awesome if it was stackable. And I don't think it would have hurt on a limited character to have that. Messenger will be reworked to win damage to all enemies, damage and damage cap increased. It would be nice to see, again, another skill pressing up to 1 million, just so you can get some solid damage numbers from that. You will gain Jammed, which will be essentially an enmity boost, and this costs 30% of your max HP. Really not great considering Wind is past its like enmity meta and is now in a standmity meta / a charge attack meta, but still totally reasonable, especially for players who aren't in that position yet. Because M2 grids aren't exactly something you get very quickly. And L'Ombre de Here, apologize for the pronunciation. If you use Black Dragon's Claw, will gain damage cap up. So that's pretty good, especially on a heavy hitter. And you will now start the battle with Black Dragon's Claw. So you can essentially use L'Ombre de Here and Deliverance both in the same turn 1, as long as you make sure you do 2-1-4 or 4-1-2. Just make sure you don't do 4 and 2 back to back. You split them up by the 1 as well. Fire Societte is up next. First Dance will be reworked and will now gain Substitute, which is great because she needed that. Because now you get pretty much a guaranteed counter on dodge. I really love it when the skills stack like this. Closing Dance will no longer disable charge attack, so you don't have to meme her when you use her, as she doesn't attack, but now that she can charge attack, you at least get that from the turn. So that makes her way more valuable. Her passive Great Flames of Ninetales, the charge bar will fill up faster when you're taking damage. That's great. As well as Dear One's Dance will reworked will now also grant uplifted, defense up, hostility up, and counters on damage. So this is really solid, especially in fire where there is you have stamina for primal fire, but non-whale fire runs enmity. So this is really solid, especially if you're still running a Kringer grid or something like that. Crimson Finger, I apologize for the shortening there. And her extended mastery skill is reworked and it will be boosted defense and hostility. If you're running her specifically for the counters and you're trying to protect her just long enough to get a lot of value out of her, this might be highly valuable. And it is notable to comment that if you are trying to get value out of a character but still trying to pull in an evoker at the same time, Fire Societte is a really good way to get that in fire, because then you can pull in someone else, but at the same time have gained a lot from her, in the meantime. Sophia, Light Sophia, I believe this is the SSR version, as they haven't made, they don't notate. Yeah, this is the SSR version. Lebensstrahl will no longer deal damage, and it instead will restore all allies HP, and all allies will gain light attack up, dark damage lowered, and uplifted. I love this because it really didn't feel like Sophia is a attacker to begin with. So getting these extra buffs is really solid, as long as this uplifted is 10%. Especially in Stat Flight, when Sophia is coming in from the back line, reviving someone, and then really she's only doing damage with charge attacks as is and staff light. While it does hit heavy, unless you have a whale grid, you're pretty much only damage capping on Ogi. Medicament is how I'm going to pronounce that. Will have its healing increased, as well as the cooldown will be changed to 5 turns when enhanced. I believe right now it's like 6 or 7 turns. And then clear will be changed to 4 turns, which is solid because this is also a longer cooldown. Meta Noah can no longer fail, which was really stupid that this one could fail, because a lot of people would just run SR Sophia instead, because that one didn't fail, even though SSR Sophia had such a better overall kit. It was just better to have the guarantee. And the cooldown is changed to 16 turns. Not much there, but this is a really, really good change, as it does make SSR Sophia strictly better now. And her support skill has been reworked and will be boost to all light allies healing cap, and will take effect even when she's in the backline, which is great because she is a backline champion for light, as well as staff light runs Funf and wow, I'm drawing a blank, I'm sorry, EO, who both have heal skill. So getting that light allies healing cap up is really great, as they already do a ton of healing. And her extended mastery support skill will be boost to all allies healing cap. Wow, this is going to be great. So staff light will have just an absolute ton of healing cap in it, which is just absolutely wonderful. And now for my waifu, Summer Vera. Frantic Thrust will gain an additional effect. It will now inflict Charmed for a 2-turn cut to skill cooldowns. This is great. Because her long cooldowns in the first place is what makes Summer Vera really tough to work with. Fascinate will now be reworked, and it will be a dispel as well as a delay. Excuse me. Which is great. They moved the Charmed up to Frantic Thrust and gave Fascinate kind of like just a better ability in general. And Australia Sprite will have additional effect, and the damage and healing will be increased. Sorry. All allies gain strength if Vera's HP is greater than 50%, which shouldn't be too hard in Earth, as well as the cooldown will be changed to 7 turns. List is being reworked, and you will now gain charge attack instant standby, as well as 5 stacks of Impassioned Sword. The cooldown will be changed to 12 turns, or essentially 10 turns, right? Because you should be using this followed by Frantic Thrust. And the new support skill is that while Impassioned Sword is in effect, boost to attack, boost to defense, multi-attack rate, and damage dealt by one foe attacks is partially absorbed to HP. So essentially, because this uses 1 stack each turn, you will have a 5 out of 10 list uptime rate, which is pretty good. 50% on a champion that you're really only using in very short battles anyways is very great. I apologize, not champion character. And, you know, I might actually bring her up to my front line in Earth just for the memes. She sits on my back line right now just because I have to use her on my team. But this is really nice to see, and now I don't have to worry about memeing her, because she used to just be strictly bad turns 1 and 2, and then only good for 1 turn on turn 3, and then after that just kind of unusable. So I'd really like to see if she's, you know, brought into a stage where she's like actually good. Like, I think this is arguably good. I know Earth is stacked, but this is at least recognizably good instead of just a meme. Next up is Dark Zeta, and the last character to be reworked. So Solar Spike has been reworked, and now all allies will gain critical hit rate up. This really matters as to numbers. Can't really comment without those, as that is a big part of crit hit rate up. Shining Star will have its damage and damage cap increased. So from 500,000, it would be nice to see like 1.2 plus, especially since damage down is not great. It will also inflict debuff resistance down and accuracy lowered. This is absolutely awesome. Debuff resist down is always an appreciated debuff, except that, you know, when it usually matters, it's usually against a boss fight that has clears, so you lose it. So the fact that this doesn't have, you know, undispellable kind of sucks. And Infinite Wonders will be attack down and defense down and burned. Again, just kind of like reasonable. I don't think this puts Dark Zeta into any kind of position of usability, but if you have a very limited Dark roster, she at least becomes a little bit better for it. And then the summon call changes, which we all wished it was the Primal Summons. Well, I wish it was the Primal Summons, and maybe I shouldn't speak for everybody. But SSR Temperance at 3-star will now only inflict 2 allies with restrained, and at 4 stars and 5 stars, it will no longer inflict allies with restrained, which is absolutely awesome. This makes the 4-star and 5-star version of Temperance absolutely amazing, and it actually makes the call good, because not being able to deal 1-4 attacks or charge attacks with your party absolutely sucked. Death now always targets the 4th party member, and if it fails to kill an ally, the buff also fails. This is absolutely great, especially in an element that would love to bring its evoker into the front line almost immediately. And when you have the ability to run like Stamina Dark with Doctor, and you can just run Revive, this is very easy to manage, because essentially what will happen is you will summon Death, bring your evoker in, then your evoker will do her thing, Nier, and then she will die, and then you will revive Nier, and then you will summon Death again, and whoever your other backline member was will have come in already, and then you will have Nier again. Absolutely wonderful. I think that there is a lot of synergy here that's going to be great, but I don't know how good the long-term usability of using a Death summon is, as sacrificing a character is a pretty heavy toll to pay. Next is the star. The effect of increasing damage has been reduced, which is great because it was 100% previously. So like even like if they knock this down to like 50%, that would be fine. And it will now also apply to divinity originating from Geisenborger. And that's weird because I feel like it should have already applied to divinity from Geisenborger. But like, okay, we appreciate that. As well as this effect is also applied to the SR. So as far as reworks and rebalances go, I think there's a lot of really good stuff here. So I'm going to do kind of like a this was too long, I didn't watch kind of a thing. So really quick, just hammering these out. Halloween Cagliostro, she's usable now. She utilizes Dark Opus weapons. Would like to see her in higher level content, see if she's relevant. Halloween Charlotta, still not really great, but at least she's usable. It really depends on numbers, but we'll have to wait and see. Definitely going to take a slot in the back line if possible, if you care about the extra health potion. Summer Diantha was already very strong, definitely brings her more into the limelight. We would definitely like to see people bring her back out again. Probably still only good in Magna Water, as Primal Water is already stacked. But if you have her, you're running Magna Water, hey, she's stronger now. And maybe she takes some place back into the teams if you're past the Kengo Water stage. Yugen Grand is no longer a full-on meme, but we will have to wait on numbers to see if he is good. He might have a minor meme of charge attacking and short fights somewhere in the 4 to 5, or maybe even guarantees himself in the backline on charge attack teams for Kengo Earth. We will have to wait and see. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a backline support skill, so he doesn't solidify his spot there. Forte, her abilities were reasonably good. This is another Oblivion Crest user, so she might gain her spot in the backline for Dark. Unfortunately, that roster is already very strong. Forte wasn't very strong to begin with, at least in my opinion. And so, yes, a little bit better. Gonna have to wait on the numbers, but probably overall doesn't move very much as far as strength of a character. Only usable if you have a limited roster. Helisania, if you were running Earth meme team with Axe, you are even more memey. She is much better at what she already did, and that is even more relevant, and they've essentially retuned her kit to be memeable with the Akasha Axe, specifically targeting the Akasha Axe. So if you want to run Earth Axe or Earth Fist with the Akasha Axe, of course, go ahead and bring Helisania. You know, this is a nice change of pace from Kengo Earth. Next up is Helis. Oh, poor Helis. They really screwed her. Unfortunately, this sucks. Maybe, just maybe, this number here down here with the charge attack damage cap, her charge attack damage up stackable is really, really big. Probably not. Sorry, Helis. Looks like we're going to have to wait for another rework on you. Jeanne d'Arc. Wow, she uses a sword? Since when? Sorry. But yes, she uses a sword now, and actually uses a sword now. So now all versions of Jeanne have sword proficiency. That was the big one. Other than that, a lot of her abilities have moved to all allies, and that's great. She might actually be super usable as a damage buffer in Light, an element that really struggles to damage cap to begin with. And I think that her value here will be much stronger for people with lesser developed grids. But mostly, it's just so you can run your waifu. Because let's be real, if you're running Jeanne in Light, you're just using her for the waifu. Summer Korwa, her abilities are very, very much so changed. Going to take a little bit of getting used to. She has something called Double Strike being added. That's the main highlight. We might see her very, very, very used in like one-turn setups, but probably not because Wind is already an Ogi meta. But it would be very good to see people playtest with this and see just how valuable you can make this Double Strike work. Other than that, the charge attack specs as well as everything else really just gives you an excuse to use a summer character that you probably use a summer ticket on, because Korwa's art is absolutely amazing, and I definitely think worth pointing out. Lancelot was already kind of a meme. I don't think these abilities make him so much better that he's worth using all the time, but hey, these numbers might be solid and we might see him do even more damage than he already did, and by that I mean we might see him do damage, period. And if that's the case, Lancelot, who I think was a B tier champion, B tier character, might move up to like a solid hitter. Unfortunately, Wind is very, very stacked, and so this is going to be hard for him to do. But hey, for people with limited rosters, he might pull himself into a slot on your mainline team. Next up, we have Nezhua. Nezhua, I think, is going to be the biggest meme of one-turn Wind. I think like Nezhua, Summer Korwa, and then like Monkey, maybe Monkey, maybe Neon. I believe that will be like a new one-turn meme where you utilize Double Strike, Sharp Eye with the essentially anytime assassin on Nezhua, and then like damage up from like a buffer like Neon or Monkey if you have them. Maybe even just running Grimnir for another attacker. And you might see like some crazy, auto attack based one turn memes from Wind, running like Luchador as well. And then you have Folia. Folia, she was already very solid, not great enough to like justify using all the time, but she had her uses. She just gets a little bit better here, some solid like quality of life changes, as well as most notably a debuff success up EMP. Rock'em Grand was non-usable, now he is usable. Gonna have to check him out, see what the numbers look like. He gets Undispellable Spitfire, which is great because it should have been Undispellable from the first place, and we'll have to look at him and playtest him to see if he is usable in Meme Gun. Summer Siegfried now has a Black Dragon's Claw mechanic. Have to actually worry about which order you press your skills. Use them in the right order and he might be good enough to use. He definitely gets outpaced by other people, but this is actually worth using, and if you do think of him as a husbando, which many people do, or if you have the meme skin from April Fools, good luck. I'm glad that you get to use him now and actually be relevant. Fire Societte. She really struggled because she didn't even charge attack when she was stance dancing, so you'd have to, when she was dancing in her stance. So now you had to stance dance in order to get the most value out of her, but now you can charge attack even when dancing. So press the button, hit auto, wait for her to die, and bring your evoker in. Definitely a solid use of a fire character. We might see her more often, so you can bring your Yule and your Societte and have your awesome frontline. Sophia, no longer a meme. Noah no longer fails. Everything else is super awesome, but that's really the highlight. Vera Summer, her turn and her value comes straight up instead of being like a 3-turn wait, and as well gets 5 stacks of Impassioned Sword. I would love to talk about her so much more. They moved skills from her 2 into her 1, made her 1 relevant by making it a dispel and a delay. Still not very good, probably still not usable, but hey, for people like me, I'll be pulling her up to the front just to see if I can get away with it. And Dark Zeta, did they even do anything to Dark Zeta? Question mark. Yep, that's her rundown. Summon Call Chains. Temperance is no longer a meme summon that you can now actually use its call effect, because it no longer affects your allies once you've spent all the insane amount of resources uncapping it all the way. Death is now targeted to the 4th member instead of random, so it's worth summoning, even though like before it was worth summoning but you were taking a major risk. Now probably has awesome synergy with things like Revive and Near the Evoker. The Star, reducing the damage of the increased damage taken reduced. This really matters on numbers, but honestly any amount less than 100% is awesome. Also, it applies to Divinity originated from Geisenborger. What? Shouldn't have already done that? Alright, that's the TLDW. I will put that in the description for people who don't want to listen to me talk about the entire patch and would just like to quit the quick rundown. But other than that, I will talk to you later.